Hi, it's Larry Herb, Xbox's Major Nelson. Welcome to the official Xbox podcast. We're here. We're ready to go. We're getting into the gaming season, and it's, again, another week. Jeff and Larry. It's the Jeff and Larry show.
Larry, just because Rebecca's not here does not mean you don't get to do the spiel at the beginning. You got to talk. You got to tell everybody all the stuff.
All right. So, you know what? Because Rebecca is not here this week. She's not here next week, but let's do this so that she's kind of here.
It's like leaving a spot for Elijah at the table at our Seder.
Exactly.
This is maybe a deep cut, but
I get it. But first of all, if you're just tuning in, thank you for joining us. This is the official Xbox podcast. My name is Larry Herb. Been on the Xbox team for almost 20 years, more than 20 years. Jeff's been on for about a decade. We work on the team that helps.
8 years this week that I started.
Congratulations. See, I remember that coming up.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary to Jeff.
Thank you.
But we're, we've got this show on YouTube, on podcasts. You can like and subscribe. So if you like what you're hearing, we want to know about it. Drop something in the comments down below. You know how to do this. Look, you watch YouTube all the time. You know how to find us.
Larry, it could be it could be the first time they've ever watched this show or listened to this show. And that's why you got to do it every time. I'm going to recommend you listen to like one of the Kind of Funny podcasts because they have like what we call in business a boilerplate.
I know.
They make sure to hit all of those things, and
I can
it's good. It's good. It's a reminder. It sticks in here.
But I want to point out that in the comments, just be nice because somebody's mother could be drifting and reading those comments.
Comments are very nice. So I love reading the comments. I went through yesterday morning, 2 days ago, and was looking through, and again, good stuff. And then the number one thing was we miss Rebecca, which if you miss Rebecca, think about us.
Think about us.
Rebecca. And there's always someone who reliably will say hi to Rebecca's mom. And it made me wonder, does Rebecca's mom watch the show when she's not on it? And we'll be well behaved just in case Rebecca's mom is here. That's a great question. Hi, Rebecca's mom. We need to find out. But thanks to the commenters for keeping it real and making sure it's a welcoming place.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. Agreed, Jeff. Anyway, how you been this week? You and I haven't had a chance to game too much this week because I see over your right shoulder, there's the rear end of a car there. So apparently you've been playing lots of Forza.
So Forza, I've always loved the Horizon series, but Forza Horizon 5 has found a good role for me. The reason we haven't played together is we've been watching Squid Game. We just finished it up last night. My wife is the type of person who loves to binge a show.
Are we talking about it?
Like, we could talk about it. And after each episode, I was like, there's no way we're doing another one, except for one, which leaves on a cliffhanger.
Right.
And where I was like, nah, you can't do that to us. And then I would come downstairs and I would put on headphones and I would just play Forza for like 2 hours until I stopped feeling sad. And Forza Horizon 5's done a great job of like putting me in like
it's your eye bleach
mood. It's my soul bleach, Larry. Because it goes deeper than just visuals.
Fair point.
And that show is pretty relentlessly depressing. Good show. I did enjoy it. It wasn't just hype, which I was very happy to see.
Now, a few weeks ago when we were in studio, we talked about it when you couldn't join us when you were on the road. When we were actually down in Mexico, and Rebecca and I talked a little bit about it. We tried to tiptoe around the spoilers out of respect for people that haven't seen it. But that said, how did you rate it on because you've watched a lot of Korean dramas, K-dramas before. How did you rate it in your universe of K-dramas?
Well, it's funny. Like my favorite Korean show until this point had been Vagabond, which is also on Netflix and has a really good, a little bit more heart, longer show, but had like some really cool moments. It's sort of like a spy drama, but not really. Anyway, it's a good show. It's got Susie Bay in it, and if you know, you know. But this was really good. This was a good show. Even if, again, I thought it was like, did it need to be that violent? I don't think so, but I thought as the show went on, it got better because you start to care about certain people. I had a few good predictions that I made in like episode 1 that did land, and a few that I was very, very far off on. But anyway, good show. I mean, it seems pretty clear that, well, no, I don't even want to say that, but I'm sure we have not seen the last of Squid Game. It just would seem with its popularity and the way the season ended that it feels like there could be more down the line. But anyway, really, really cool show.
But more importantly, you're using Forza to scrub your soul.
Again, it just felt much better afterwards. Especially last night after I finished. I think I played 3 hours of Forza, and I wasn't even doing events. I was like, I'm just going to drive around and hit XP boards, just listen to the music.
Looks like jumps. Looks like an Audi there. What is your preferred ride to kind of do that open world driving around? Do you have one?
Yeah, I generally like to use something that's a little more rugged because, I mean, you don't follow the roads, do you? It's like, oh, that's 3 miles. It's like it's 6 miles that way, you know.
And the waypoint's up over a hill, up over the hill. You're like, let's go straight. Hey, it's just standard geometry. The straightest distance between 2 points is a straight line. The shortest distance.
In that time, I think the vehicle I've used the most this week, and this is so cliche, this is so like noob, is I use the Warthog. I use the Warthog.
So you bought the Warthog using the in-game currency.
Of course.
Did you see the Easter egg on it?
What? No, what?
And again, unfortunately, some of our European counterparts won't see this, but the max speed is 117 miles an hour.
Is it really? Oh, that's 170 kilometers an hour would be a little bit slow. Yeah, right. It's a vehicle that cannot be phased. Like no matter what, it lands on its feet. And so, and I feel like they've kind of nailed the steering, because the steering on like when you're driving in a Halo game, it's a little different. You control using the camera really. And,
but it almost feels like all four wheels turn, right?
Yeah, it does, because I did get caught on like a rock and I was noticing like how they speed up and slow down, and the detail in the game is just phenomenal, but it's so good. I just can't stop playing it. Yes, please.
Is that your preferred view? This third person back, behind I didn't know if you were like in the car, or what's your view?
No, I'm a third person view. I like to just see because like so much work must go into like the dash view, and like this. So much,
because it's not just a dash view. They're custom to every car. It's accurate.
Exactly. and that's so amazing. And sometimes like if there's a car I've been in, I love to look at it. But it's just much harder, just from a skill perspective, because you just don't have. I do like that you can, you could sort of look around like this in the car while you're driving, and there's exactly, and which is really cool. But at the same time, I'm like, wait, how far can I go? There we go. That's the stuff. Actually, I think I might do just the first chase. I think that's what I do. Also, the hood view is sometimes a good one as well. But again, I want to win, and so it's more about. Yeah, that's not a bad view, because you get a little bit more field of view on it. I'm curious, what do you use, Larry?
I use the third person as well, but sometimes when I'm like stop, you're right. I stop and I just want to enjoy, and I don't have it up on. You can't see my screen here, and I don't have my console with it loaded on. But I sometimes want to go into the cockpit and
switch over to you.
What?
You're on the one shot.
Okay.
You mixed up your preview and your program.
I'm doing it all over here.
We've all been there.
I really just like to. Sometimes I do use the third person view, much like you do. But then I do want to get into the cockpit, because some of the cars, maybe I own some of these cars, and I want to see if I remember it. Or sometimes I wish I had aspirations to be inside what it's like. Because I remember we did a Forza event. This is before you joined the team, I think, Jeff, where it was a Forza event proper, and they had they brought us out to somewhere in northern Washington, like up near the Vancouver border, and we drove a bunch of really, really, really expensive cars that were in the game, like a Bentley and the Mercedes that has the gull wing, and I drove all those cars. And my general sense is, I mean, at one point I think I drove like $2.5 million worth of cars that day. It was ridiculous. But my sense is, and my gut is, because you've been in some of these supercars, is
what life do you think I live, Larry?
You've been in some. You're not driving
a car.
Okay.
No.
The deep, dirty, dark secret of these supercars is they are terribly uncomfortable. They are ridiculously, and sometimes they're almost impossible to get in or out of. I know there's YouTube videos of like large, like grown men trying to get in and out of them, and it's not easy. But I love getting in. Like one of my favorites, actually, the one I liked driving the most was the Bentley. Do you want to know why?
Like a refined car, but tell me.
It was like driving a living room on wheels. It was so, to your point, it was so refined. It was so smooth. You just kind of glided down the road, and it was just absorbing everything. But no, I'm sorry. We got totally distracted. I really like the cockpit view, to your point, because I like seeing the tachometer go up and the speedometer go up and things happen. I almost wish, I mean, there's no reason to have it because the way you drive. I almost wish there was like signal lights so you can turn the blinkers on and off, but you don't need that.
Larry stops at all the stop signs in an open
No. According, and trust me, the internet, I know you'll come at me with this. My Drivatar is ruthless. I mean, it'll just it'll run you off the road.
It's my favorite thing about every time a new Forza game is released. Like, inevitably, I get some tweets, or even I got a call last night. Like, what is with your Drivatar? It is like possessed, and it's the way. I mean, it is the way I drive. Like, I'm like. The shortest distance between 2 points is a line, and if you happen to be on that line, I'm gonna push you off of it.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna trade some paint. So.
Yes, at minimum, And I've heard it from a few people, and it just makes me feel good. Like they've captured my essence in AI form.
It's pretty funny. Anyway, so yeah, I'm having a great time with Forza 2. I just need to spend more time with it. Phil and I did a couple of races. I think it was Friday night when it came, because it was in early. For those people that were able to unlock it early. And so I played with Phil, and that was a lot of fun playing with Phil, because he's ruthless as well. But played a little bit. Well, you and I need to play, and we need to get Rebecca in as well, and maybe some community members, and get a convoy going.
That would be fun. There's the arcade stuff, which is really cool.
Did you try the Battle Royale stuff?
I would love to do the Eliminator. I've done it in Forza Horizon 4. I haven't done it yet in 5, but I will. In fact, one of the challenges for the current season, which is about to run, is to finish in the top 30.
Right.
So I think probably I'll jump into that.
I think I finished in 32. I need to make a run at it again.
Yeah, you'll get some of the points. So there's all these different activities when you actually close my window, so I don't know what we're looking at right now. But these, because I did want to bring up a tweet. But when you go into the pause menu here, and you go over there. So this is the spring season as we record this now. It should
let me go full screen on you. There you go.
And you see, like, if you get X amount, so I have 12 points for the season so far. And if I want to get to that NSX, that is like my favorite car of all time. Is
really
Acura NSX or Honda NSX in Japan. And so if you do these different activities, then so I'm like somewhat progressed on this, and here's some of the dailies, so I can go and do these dailies. And then one of them, and there's a Horizon Arcade, and you get X amount of points for doing each of them. So I've done some of them, as you can see, the one with the Mercedes AMG. So you get, by finishing these activities in the right vehicle, you'll get a car, you'll get a wheel spin, or whatever you see right there. But then you also get the points, and those points add up per season. And so there's daily and weekly activities to do. So I'm close to getting the first car there, but I'm gonna have to really get after it tonight for the NSX, which is really cool. I just wanted to call it. You mentioned you were playing with Phil, and he tweeted out, and this was on day one, on I guess 24 hours or so after. No, it was day one. It was on launch day on Tuesday.
Yeah,
and he said, we've invested in Xbox for years in Xbox so more people could play. With 4.5 million players so far across PC, cloud, and console, Forza Horizon 5 shows that promise coming to life. The largest launch day for an Xbox Game Studios game, with peak concurrence 3 times the peak of Forza Horizon 4.
Right.
So thank you, players, and congrats to Playground Games. So that's just great. I love that so many people are jumping in, whether it's through Game Pass or whether they got the deluxe edition where they jumped in on Friday, or they had Game Pass and they bought the upgrade that allowed them to play early, which it seems like a lot of people did as well. So it's just really cool to look on your friends list and everybody's playing it, and you're seeing the drive. Like Aubrey, who works at Turn 10, she just like drove by me, and then she did a donut right in front of me. She like 180'd in front of me because I was like messing with the setting, and then she just honks at me. And of course, her honk was like the Windows XP shutdown or some crazy thing like that. And I think mine was like a royal fanfare, and it was just really fun. And then we just
what's so in the game, a lot of people, I don't know if you know this, but you can go into the settings and you can have the AI call you by your name. What name have you chosen?
What did I say? Oh my God. I'm going to have to go and look. I think I said like Chief. I like it to be like a little like sarcastic. Like, okay, Chief, let's get out of here.
Well,
because my name is in there, but I didn't want to use my name. Is yours in there? Does it say major?
It does. It does.
Well, there we go.
Thank you, Playground, for adding that in. I was stunned.
I saw Rod Ferguson complaining that Rod was not in there, and so he picked something crazy. And there's some funny stuff in there. But okay, well that's good to know.
We got to get into that. So you're playing Forza. I had a chance to, and I don't know if I can't really show right now because it's kind of at the far end of my screen. But I had a chance to. I finished Far Cry 6. It's right here.
Yes, we started off together, and then I got sort of tied up with travel, and you continued on in Yara, and that's good to hear.
I wrapped that up. So that was between that and Forza and that this week. Those were really the only things I've had a chance to play. And that, Far Cry 6, there's a lot, as with most Ubisoft open world games as of late, there's a lot there. So it was moving it along, right?
Yeah, at some point it's like, okay, I always start these games with like the best of intentions. I'm going to do everything. I'm going to 1K it. And then at some point I'm like, okay, there's other stuff coming out and I'm going to just like hit the golden path. But it's good if, you want to focus on a game that there's so much there. And there's
I ended up down some weird sidetrack, some side quest, which was, I had to like, protect somebody who was a drag queen who was doing a show, and it was very strange. It was a lot of fun. It was a very different type of side quest.
So I got back into it. Speaking of like interesting side quests, I got back into Lost Judgment, which is from the makers of Yakuza. It's a great game. The first game is like kind of like very serious. You're tracking down a serial killer,
right?
And it's possible that this game will be serious too. But where I'm at, essentially it's like almost like 21 Jump Street. I've gone undercover at a high school to.
How do you do, fellow kids?
Possible criminal activity. There's very much an element of that. I'm like skateboarding to school.
Yeah.
And like you're an advisor. It's like, no, you're not pretending to be a student. But at some point I ended up going down a rabbit hole of a side quest which you don't have to do at all, where I'm coaching the dance team to the regional finals. And I'm like, this is not what I expected to be doing. But and you're using your kung fu as like dance moves, and it's just so ridiculous that I love it.
Yeah, that's the beauty of those games.
It is.
Anyway, hey, we got some interviews, and then we got some news coming up. Do you want to do a break for the interviews?
Yeah, why don't we do that? So, couple of them today. First off, I got to speak with. Hey, this is launch day even. For Battlefield 2042. We'll talk about that in a minute. So I got to speak with Daniel Berlin, who's the senior design director of Battlefield 2042. And then Larry, a touching story, actually, with Monique Kyra, the CEO of Backbone, which you might know as the adaptive controller that can go around your iPhone, which is really cool too. So let's talk to them and then we'll come back and recap. It is Battlefield 2042 early access launch day, and I couldn't be more pleased to be joined by Daniel Berlin, joining us all the way from Stockholm, Sweden. He is the design director of Battlefield 2042, and people are playing. What does it feel like to finally, have people, they've got their hands on the sticks or mouse and keyboard, and they're out there playing?
It's I think it's a pretty surreal feeling, to be honest. There's been a lot of hard work on this game. The team has put their heart and soul into this. So seeing it all come to fruition today is super cool, to be honest. It's so fun to see the early access hopping on today. I'm going to hop on myself as soon as I get out of here, pretty much. And hopefully I'll be able to, if my kids allow it, I'm gonna play all night, pretty much.
Yeah, I'm definitely planning on spending most of the weekend playing Battlefield. For those who maybe participated in early, like the beta, and they're playing now, what do you think? What are some of the differences? Like, what are the lessons learned? I know EA's always been great at saying we're doing a beta here, and here's what we're applying into the finished product. So, what are some of those things you're looking at, or you have looked at and implemented?
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, there's been a ton of updates since the beta, I'd say. So some of the core features of Battlefield wasn't actually in the beta. Like the possibility to bring up the big map, for example, to be able to navigate the battlefield and see which points you own, and all these things. These things have moved into the full game and the full release now. On top of that, we got a lot of feedback on the kill feed and the general team play as well. About how you actually get points for team play actions, such as healing, such as giving ammo and all these things. So all these things have moved into to the kill feed. So that type of communication is much tighter and much slicker. And just a bunch of balancing, a bunch of just core fixes, bug fixes in general. So definitely a step up from the beta for us here.
All right. So I know during the week, a lot of media and creators they were getting their hands on with Hazard Zone, and if you're going to be playing that mode and you're going to be picking your squad, I feel like squad composition is just super important for success. Battlefield more than most shooters. It's a team sport. It's not just necessarily racking up, what's your KDR. It's and what I've always enjoyed about it is focusing on the objectives and, helping out my team. I'm an engineer, like at heart is the role that I enjoy. I love fixing stuff. And, because in real life, I don't fix anything. I only break things, but in Battlefield, I can fix things. It's empowering. So from a squad setup, like what have you been seeing be successful? What should people be thinking about? Is they're recruiting their friends and being like, no, you should choose that.
I think it's very different also which of the experiences you're playing. If you're in the all-out warfare section, playing Breakthrough, playing Conquest, or you're in the Hazard Zone. And I say Hazard Zone specifically is that experience where, team play is really, really at the heart of it. And you are required to play together with your squad to be successful. Soloing in Hazard Zone will definitely make it more difficult. So whenever you play Hazard Zone as well, important to note is that even if you matchmake on your own, you will actually be matchmade into a full squad of players. So you will always be grouped with other players, even if you don't have a party beforehand and join as a group. But as a question in terms of squad compositions, I think this is something that really sits there, and we're really promoting it really, really strong in Hazard Zone. And you'll notice that only by quickly joining the mode. Because there's a completely different join flow in Hazard Zone where you're actually going through a shared loadout phase, basically a phase where you're building your squad together and you're choosing what type of gear you want to have together before the match starts and before you're actually even inserted and deployed. And there's also particular gadgetry that is only available in Hazard Zone, such as the Intel scanner. But also the addition of the tactical upgrades, which is an addition that is only available in Hazard Zone as well, which are boosts to your squad that you have to purchase every time you go in to play the mode. And if your specialist actually does not manage to extract out of the Hazard Zone, you will lose all those things that you bought for your specialist, and you will leave with nothing, basically. So the stakes are high in this mode. But in terms of the composition of which specialist to choose, and this is one of the things that I'm mostly excited about today, actually, is to see, once we release this beast in the wild now, which squad compositions are going to be, metas. What are we going to see? And we've seen a couple of them internally. And I have a couple of favorites myself. That me and the friends in the office usually run with, and one of them is a very defensive type of setup where we use almost like Irish as the core foundation of the squad, because he has the ability to place out these portable covers, basically, and he can place out 2 of them. Combining then those portable covers with Boris, we can bring in the sentry turret. You can almost create this little nest, this little base around it. So it's super cool. And if you then throw Angel into the mix, who has the ability to call in a supply pack, basically, so you can resupply your ammo at any point. Now you have cover, you have automated sentries, you have a resupply section right next to you, and then we throw in Falk at the back of that, and now you have your healer as well. So now you have this perfectly built squad to be able to protect a particular location that you might want to protect when you're playing. So that's one of my favorites. I can give you more, but I don't know if you want to move on with other questions. You have to interrupt me because I have a tendency to keep talking.
No, it's great. This is why we wanted you on here. You got me thinking, and I'm like, that sounds like an impregnable fortress unless someone throws a grenade in like just the right spot, and then it'll, that you have your healer.
Actually, on that point, which is really good to mention, is that Irish actually has has two versions of his specialist gadgets, basically. So one is the big cover he can place down, but if you bring up the plus menu, when you have this up, you can actually bring in a tool which can be placed on the ground that will automatically shoot down incoming grenades and rockets as well. So you can defend yourself from incoming rockets by having this tool placed on the ground. And a real neat trick that I want to give as a little tip to the players out there as they're entering the hazard zone. This particular one is great to have when you're running towards the Condor to escape for the extraction, because place that down right at the door as you're waiting for the Condor to leave, and you'll basically make sure that no enemies can start chucking grenades at you, shoot rockets at you when you're trying to escape in the Condor, basically.
That is a pro tip from from the source, though. That is something I think I'm very much going to be picking that one and running with that and be like, nah, I got this. Watch this. This is great. So behind me, and in some of the footage we just showed, I mean, the verticality of these levels is just like, it's mind-boggling, and I can't wait. You just, jumping off the top of the building through the storm and everything, and very, very much looking forward to get hands-on. But not parachutes, it's like wingsuits. So talk about the wingsuits and how we're going to see a little bit of it here, how those came together, and there's always like sort of that classic Battlefield thing that you're going to be seeing on, like, you'll probably be seeing it on TikTok this time, where someone's way up in the air, they jump out of a vehicle, they wingsuit, they land on someone else's, or they blow it up and they get back into their own plane or chopper or something like that. I would love to hear some of the cool stuff you're seeing with the wingsuit, with your internal tests or in early play sessions where you're like, it's going to enable some really cool stuff.
Yeah. For first thing, I just want to point out the thing that you mentioned with the verticality, because that is something that was something we really pushed for in 2042. Coming from Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5, where we were seeing the battlefield set in a different time, verticality wasn't as big of a thing back then. But now going to this modern era, verticality has become a constant on all of our maps, basically. Which is super interesting, super fun. And also introducing the zip lines everywhere. So you can just, internally we say that you zippy up, you zippy down, to all these different verticality locations, which is super, super fun. But of course, introduction of the wingsuit. So the wingsuit is a trait that is bound to a particular specialist, and the particular specialist is Sundance. And they have this wingsuit as their passive trait. So whenever you're falling, as in the footage right now, you basically just press jump, and then they do a little roll, and then whoop, off you go. But you have to use the momentum and the speed, because it's not flying per se; it's gliding, right? So if you want to gain more velocity, you got to dive, and then you can use that velocity to gain up altitude again. And eventually, you're going to have to stick that landing. So you're going to have to be a little bit careful with that. Too many times I've been jumping off, like in the clip we just saw, like that cool clip. But then my skills were lacking, so I just crashed headfirst right into one of those skyscrapers instead. And it just makes those hilarious moments. But in general, we saw a lot of the community, and also internally, to be honest, like everyone always talks about Davenport Peak from Battlefield 3. That moment when you just started off and you started in your HQ and you jumped off, and then you scurried down to the map, and that was that big moment. What we wanted to do with this game is to introduce that type of verticality, but not just for your initial spawn and then you jump and then that was that, but actually having the ability for you to come back up to those points with the zip lines, or to be dropped off with the helicopters. So these really, really, really high peaks that you find in Battlefield 2042, they're not just an HQ location that you jump off from. Those are capture points, the top of skyscrapers, and so on and so forth. So really, really excited to see what kind of gameplay our players will produce using the verticality of the game.
So you've mentioned a couple times, you've mentioned some previous battlefields. Obviously, they took place in various different times throughout the last century and more than the century at this point. And we're going to be seeing some of these maps from these games come back through Portal. We talked extensively about Portal last time we had a guest onto this show. But I'm just actually curious now. I'm thinking about it. Like, how'd you pick the maps that will be resurfacing here in 2042 for use in Portal, and like what kind of changes some of those were from previous generations and things like that. What kind of changes do you add to those to make them fit seamlessly within the full package of Battlefield 2042?
I think it's important to mention that the Portal is very much within the package of 2042. Everything is within one experience, right? So everything you do within the game, for example, then does translate into your general progression. So you can play pretty freely across the board. The different experiences, everything from All Out Warfare to Hazard Zone to Portal. But I would like to almost say that I want to leave the question for Portal for Ripple Effect, because they have all those details about why they chose this in that map, and they'll be much better suited to answer those questions, I think.
All right, no worries. So what I would say as we wrap up here, and people are going to be able to get in, or they're able to get in today, through the power of EA Play and Xbox Game Pass Ultimate and Game Pass for PC, or if they bought the gold or the Ultimate version of the game. But any parting words here? Anything that you want to make sure people notice as they're jumping in? Because once the battle starts, you get a little bit of tunnel vision sometimes because it's so intense. There's so many players. What do you want to make sure people do? How do they maintain their cool?
I think it's for players. I think it's important to kind of choose the experience they want to start off with, and how they want to kind of digest 2042, if you can say it like that. I think it's at the very base, we have, of course, All Out Warfare, which features Conquest and Breakthrough, which are two fan favorite modes. And then, of course, blown up to 128 players on the Xbox Series X. And PC, of course. But what we've done is also we really leaned into the experiences to make sure that they become the best versions of themselves. So Conquest is almost back to the roots of Conquest, where it's this big, vast, sprawling landscapes where you have the ability to call in a vehicle at any point to just land it right in front of your feet, and then hop in with your squad and just partake in the ultimate sandbox, right? Just you want to go over there and have a close quarters fight, do that. You want to go for some crazy verticality with some sniper rifles and do that type of role, do that. You want to be on a helicopter. Everything is available at all times to you in Conquest. It's the ultimate sandbox, play the objective, and have fun with your friends. And then you have Breakthrough, which it's almost like I want to describe it as like, the reveal trailer. It's like having that reveal trailer just happening constantly. That high pace, 128 players, 64 players just clashing in a front war. You always know what enemy's coming from. They're coming from right there. And then it's just these massive, massive battles. And they take you on a journey throughout the battlefield. So I think for new players that are new to Battlefield, I think Breakthrough is a really good starting point because it's a little bit more directed. It's very clear where you should go and that type of stuff. And then, of course, Hazard Zone, which has a completely different pacing than what you see in the All Out Warfare modes. It's this really tense squad-centric mode where you really need to rely on what you choose to bring, what your friends choose to bring. And there's so many different ways to play Hazard Zone, which makes it so varied. You can hop in and decide to be like, hey, we're not even going to go around to try to find the data drives. We're just going to skulk around and be sneaky. And then at the end of it, we're going to ambush the last extraction location, and we're just going to try to kill the squad that's trying to get out and steal all their stuff and then jump in ourselves. So there's ways to play passively. There's ways to play aggressively. If you're using the intel scanner in the correct way, for example, you can be a squad that is solely out there to hunt other squads. Because if you pick up a data drive, the intel scanner can still see it. So if you bring that up and you start looking around, you see an indicator that it's actually moving. That's a data drive that's being carried by a player. So now you can start skulking them. You can actually mark them. And when you mark them, they will be notified that like, oh, crap, someone is marking us. They're on our tail. So now they can start saying like, okay, let's set up an ambush for them. We've seen some pretty cool tactics internally where one squad actually decided to just let a single player in their squad pick up all their intel, all their data drives, and they use that person as a what do you call it? A decoy.
Bait.
a bait. Yes, to use them as bait, to put them in the middle of a room. And then me and my squad, we were just like, oh, it's right there, let's get them. And then none of the other ones had any data drives on them, so we couldn't see them on the scanner. And then they just murdered us and took our stuff. We lost, but it was still fun in that regard. And then, of course, outside of Hazard Zone, you have, Portal, the community-driven place where you can play anything that Battlefield 2042 has to offer. Make your own rules, play it the way you want. If you want to play with, the old classic classes, for example, from Battlefield 3 or from Bad Company 2, you can do that. You can do that on a 2042 map if you want to. You can bring the specialists into Valparaiso for Bad Company 2. It's basically a love letter to our fans. We know there's so many community-driven efforts around Battlefield with setting up, Friday Night Battlefield and all these things, So I think Portal is going to be the go-to place to be able to get great community experiences for that. So taking a step back then and looking at this, it is a massive game, to be honest. It's we're super proud of it. All Out Warfare, Hazard Zone, Portal, and this is only the beginning, right? I mean, we're going to be continuously building this game throughout the live service and adding more content and a lot of stuff to come. So stay tuned. We're far from done here.
Daniel Breland, thank you so much for joining us here on what I know is a very busy day with early access launch day. Once again, that's applicable. If you've bought the game and you bought the deluxe, the gold version, the ultimate version, you already know that. But if you're an Xbox Game Pass Ultimate member or an Xbox Game Pass for PC member, definitely check out EA Play. Gives you early access to the game and so much to play this weekend, so much to come down the line. Definitely appreciate you coming out. And I know Larry and I and Rebecca, you have to join us too. We're going to be getting in this weekend and we're going to need more for a squad. So we'll see you on the battlefield.
Nice. See you on the battlefield.
Holidays are coming up and we know we like to game. We like to go everywhere and take our games with us. If you haven't heard of this device before, this is the Backbone. And you can this is actually my personal phone here. This is an amazing device that plugs to your phone and you can game on the go with xCloud and a bunch of other services. And I have today with me, let me bring him in here, Maneeth Kaira, who's the inventor, the CEO, the brains behind this device. Maneeth, thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate the opportunity.
I got to tell you, it's so exciting to talk to you because you have been working on this device for a long time. Tell me about the journey that brought this device to market, because it's pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, definitely been quite the long haul. So the company was founded in 2017, 2018, and I like to tell the origin story because I think people find it somewhat entertaining, but I was actually an intern at YouTube and summer of like 2018-ish roughly, and pretty much every single day after work, my friends and I, we'd all get back home from work and we'd all play Fortnite on our phones together, which sounds like a really crazy idea. Like, why would you play Fortnite on your phone when you own multiple gaming consoles? Like pretty much every gaming console and multiple high-end gaming PCs like inside of your house. The reason we do it is actually the first time that we could all easily play the same game together. Because I mean, even in 2021, like playing games with your friends, massive amount of activation energy, but obviously mobile device, lowest common denominator, so we could all play. And this is roughly around the time when Epic released the update to Fortnite that let you run the game at 60 FPS on a latest generation iPhone, which at the time, I mean, you can imagine we were just sitting there totally floored and completely flabbergasted how it's physically possible. You could run a game at that level of fidelity, like on a phone. And as we're sitting there playing, we realized, oh my gosh, the game just runs so incredibly well, but the actual experience of playing the game doesn't really feel all that great. And we said, hey, what if through a combination of software and hardware, we could actually make that experience a lot better? And we're actually mostly thinking about software at the time. And somewhat contemporaneously, and I was working at Google, I was really lucky to be in the right place at the right time where I got to see a very, very early demo of Stadia. And if you remember back in that time, so John Carmack, the CTO of Oculus, I always tell this to my team, he kind of described the experience of trying the Oculus Rift for the first time as sort of like experiencing religion on contact. You like you try VR and you're just like, I want to tell 5 or 10 people about this. That was incredible. I think the experience of playing a game like Halo on your phone for the first time, if you're a gamer, is equally, if not more shocking. And that was the experience that I had in like 2018. I got to see a demo of like forget what game it was. I think it was like Lara Croft Tomb Raider or Destiny running on an Android phone. And I was just so in awe of the experience. And I was like, we have to build something to make this experience like really, really, really great.
Right.
And to kind of synthesize the vision of the company in a nutshell, I would kind of describe it as follows. Like pretty much every single major industry player, not just within gaming, but within technology at large, and this is what I saw firsthand when I was at Google, has just been ruthlessly focused on bringing this massive, massive slate of great gaming content to mobile devices. And, in this sort of relentless drive to just bring all these games, we realized that this equally large opportunity had kind of fallen by the wayside, which is that everyone had been so focused on just getting the games to run on mobile devices that it didn't really feel like anyone was thinking about how to make the experience of playing these games super duper fun. Almost like a last mile problem, if you will. Like, yes, it's great. I can run Call of Duty at 1080p, 60 FPS on my phone,
right,
but the experience of playing it, isn't really as good as it could be or ought to.
Yeah, once you get outside, I mean, certainly the phones of today are so technologically advanced. They look great, 60 frames per second and beyond. But once you get outside the screen, that interface with the human, with you, the player, it's rough at best, right?
Right. Yeah, and I remember I listened to this interview that Phil Spencer did, where he talked about when he evaluates the first party games that they design at Xbox. One of the things he looks for is how does input feel, right? Like, is the connection between my brain and the game completely seamless?
Right.
And across both bits and atoms, we really sought to improve it on like pretty much every single dimension. So every aspect of the device is super considered. We can talk more about that as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's really quite extraordinary what you've done here, because it seems so simple, and I don't want to take away what your team has done, because shipping hardware is insanely difficult. Doing it during a pandemic is ridiculously insanely difficult. But you guys have managed to, here's the device here. You saw me holding it up, but here's the beauty shot, as we call it, of the device, and that's it right there. And it just snaps right in. You can see a great example here. Sea of Thieves, amazing on the device. But you guys have really combined it, because this is your own launcher area right here, the Backbone app, that you can see an entry point into Xbox Game Pass. We'll talk about that in just a minute. But you guys have a bunch of different really great things that you've done with it to really close that gap, like you talked about Phil Spencer. And I also want to point something out, and you and I did not talk about this beforehand. I have here the letter you wrote me. And this is an actual letter from you, Mini, and it was the kindest letter I've ever gotten. This was probably about a year and a half ago. Do you remember this letter?
I do. I remember writing it, yeah.
And I have this posted in my office because it meant, and I won't read it here on the air because it was, you just talk about how, Xbox and some of the work that I've done, and granted, I've just done a little part of work at Xbox, really inspired you from when you were playing Halo 3. So when you sent this at 4:31 in the morning. I seriously, I read this about once a week because it's so meaningful to me. And when I see this, and then in the box, you had one of the first devices. And I got to be honest with you, it kind of brought a tear to my eye because I was so excited and enthralled and inspired by what you've done here and your vision here and how clear it was to ship this device. And it is a fun device to use. So congratulations. So I just want to let you know that I know that you say in here that Xbox and what the work I've done had an impact on you, but you've had a massive impact on me because of what you've written here and shipping the product, because I know it's hard.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And obviously, definitely have come a long way since really decided to say that a couple of days ago, Backbone actually got featured in the New York Times holiday gift guide, like right up there with the Quest 2. And the reviews have been absolutely incredible, like a 9 out of 10 from The Verge and across all of the major gaming media, just incredible reception throughout the industry. So really excited by it.
Yeah. Again, congratulations. We talked a little bit about it, but you're kind of this this bridge across. We certainly have remote play with the console with Xbox. We have xCloud. It works with xCloud. You work with Stadia, Luna. I mean, pretty much everybody out there, because you want to make sure that, again, you can close that gap between the human and the connection. Bringing the games to the device is the service providers. I don't want to say problem, but that's their area. You're kind of filling in that gap of making it a little bit more special, right?
Exactly. Yeah. As I described before, everyone's really focused on the content. Backbone's focused on the experience of playing all those different types of games. And it's really interesting because there's so many disparate gaming experiences that you can now have on a mobile device. And I say this stat all the time just internally because it's really interesting. Like 6 out of the 8 gaming services, at least in their current incarnation, that you can play on Backbone didn't exist 12 months ago.
Right.
And same for 5 of the top 10 games.
Right.
So I mean, we're really at the bleeding edge here, both on like mobile software, using all the latest like technology around mobile, but also with just the games industry in general, kind of using this as a direction of travel. So I mean, there's so many disparate, and I think it's useful to just talk about like what you can do on your phone now, because I just don't. I think there's like an awareness problem, or like a lot of players are just now starting to realize that like remote play is a thing, or like you can now do Xbox Cloud Gaming because it's still very nascent, right?
Right.
So as context, like Backbone users, if you go in our community, there's probably nowhere else in the world right now where people talk about going from playing Call of Duty Mobile to then playing Deathloop on their PlayStation 5 remote play,
right,
and then playing Cyberpunk 2077 on NVIDIA GeForce Now, all in kind of in the same breath and more frequently than not while in the toilet.
Right.
And of course, all these like disparate experiences that you can now have, there isn't really like a connective tissue between all of them, and that's what Backbone aims to build with its software. And that's why Backbone is kind of this like, we're trying to build this feature-rich home for gaming on a mobile device. And a useful analogy that we kind of use internally is almost like Roku, right? And in many ways, the origin story of Backbone parallels it, where it was very clear that all these streaming services were going to arrive in the living room, and therefore there needed to be a device and platform on which all of these could be played. Right. And somewhat analogously, Backbone aims to be like the feature-rich home for gaming on a mobile device. You can play all these different types of services. So what exactly can you play? Because I mean, that's the most important thing. Like, what games can you play? Those few things. You can play almost any native App Store games, that's Call of Duty Mobile, Minecraft, Roblox, all the major titles. But perhaps most interestingly, and this is something that took off that we didn't quite expect, to be honest, I think we overestimated the appeal of like native mobile games in the near term,
sure,
and perhaps underestimated the appeal of remote play. So remote play is this phenomenon where you can actually play your Xbox or PlayStation or Steam games on your phone by streaming, say, for example, your Xbox Series X to your phone.
Right.
And, first we thought, how are people going to do that? Why wouldn't they just use xCloud? But it's this really appealing thing because if you think about it, average American household has an Xbox or PlayStation and also owns a single living room TV. So if, someone else is watching Netflix on the TV, I can actually like play my Series X like on my phone and still game. And I can also bring it outside the house and take it with me to school. And it seems like, really with Series X and PS5, this last generation of consoles actually pretty drastically improves the experience of remote play. So the experience is even better on the latest generation of consoles. So as we're seeing that as the installed bases continue to climb for both those consoles, we're seeing a lot of attach on remote play. And we're hearing stories like people are like, yeah, I'm playing my Series X and PS5 like more so on my phone than on my actual Series X and PS5 because I can take it with me anywhere. Sure. And I can play it in bed and all these crazy things. Like there's even a user who was like, yeah, I actually own both a PlayStation and an Xbox, and I can like switch between them in the Backbone app
seamlessly.
And like, yeah. And switch between them in the Backbone app, and I don't have to like boot up my TV and like turn on my remote and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. The remote play is a big part of what we offer in the Xbox ecosystem. And then, of course, we plus it up because even if you don't have a console, we have Xbox Series X's in the cloud with our xCloud service. So you can still, stream your games and have access to your games through Game Pass, Game Pass Ultimate. So that's really a great thing. I want to show we got a couple of video clips here, if you don't mind. I'd like to show those because this one's actually really, they're all interesting. But this one is, let's see if I can bring this up here.
Rocket jumping is physically impossible.
So this is the Halo Infinite beta that we had, the tech preview that happened, it was about a month ago. I'm sure you played a lot, didn't you, Neat?
Yeah, that's actually a clip of me playing. And what you probably didn't realize is that I actually played that while I was waiting for the ferry by Orcas Island. So I was playing it, remotely over like basically LTE or 5G.
Right.
And I recorded that clip with Backbone's capture tools, which are embedded in the device and the software.
Right. So yeah. So that's really. I mean, it's a quick clip there, but it's pretty amazing. I also want to point out that I mentioned this, alluded to this at the beginning, is that this is a device that is you're a partner of Xbox. You've been approved. We have to kind of test it, make sure it works. So you're on our approved list. You also did the hard work. It's on the Apple the approved list. You're an official iOS device. I can see a little Lightning connector in there for my iPhone. So I mean, you've done this. I think you're the only device that's like done all this hard work in terms of getting the approval and working with Apple and frankly working with us. I mean, that's not that it's hard, but we want to make sure it's a good experience for gamers.
Totally. Yeah. I think, we're kind of at this nexus of all these different platforms. So it's definitely really interesting. And really, Backbone has like two products, right? We have Backbone One, which is our device, and we believe it's the best in class device for playing games on mobile phone. Right now, it's available only on iOS, not on Android yet, but you can sign up for the waitlist on our website at playbackbone.com. And secondly, we have Backbone Plus, which is our service that basically turns your device into like a feature-rich home for gaming on mobile, as I described. And that includes the Backbone app as well. So obviously the device is kind of in the design for Xbox program and also for the made for iPhone program. So we were kind of flitting across the boundaries with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. Now I want to show, I've got another little video here that we can kind of show, which kind of shows the device. And I don't know if you want to walk us through. I mean, we're seeing the launcher. Here you're playing xCloud, right?
That's right. So I'm playing Xbox Remote Play. So I'm using Backbone's home screen to launch into Xbox Remote Play and play some Halo Infinite.
Right. This is when the Tick preview was out last month. And are you doing this on the ferry on Orcas Island again?
No. I did. This one was not. As you can see, I'm hitting more shots.
now, it's funny you say that because we're kind of watching the Halo here. But in this letter you wrote, you talked about playing Halo 3 in high school. Did you, as somebody who is obviously a Halo player and familiar with it, how did it feel? I mean, it must have felt great.
Oh, it's incredible. Honestly, as I described earlier, the story with John Carmack talking about Oculus being like religion on contact. When I experienced cloud gaming, it was just one of those moments where, I mean, it literally motivated us to start a company, right?
Right.
Because we were just so compelled by the experience. So what the work being done at Xbox as well as elsewhere to enable this future where you can play games to on any device in your life is unbelievable, right? I mean, before that, when I was growing up, you had to have like a $500 box or $300 box underneath.
You had to have the TV, you had to have the cables, you had to have the internet. I mean, it was rather cumbersome. Even in just, you're younger than I am significantly, but even in just your short age, you've seen a tremendous leap in the technology, haven't you?
Yeah. And I think gamers are starting to really embrace it because in many ways, it's just complementary to the experience that you have in the living room. It's not meant to supplant it in any way. And the Xbox team frequently talks about this. So we really view it as an extension of your gaming experience for core gamers. But then there are also like new casual gamers, like the folks that, the 2 billion people that play games on mobile devices that maybe previously only had access to Candy Crush. So when you pair Backbone with a service like Xbox Cloud Gaming, this could be someone's like first dedicated like gaming experience, like the first real core gaming experience.
Well, to your point, when I was talking with Phil about this, in fact, I just saw him a couple days ago in person. We were at a meeting and I told him I was going to interview you and he says hello. He says, he's so nice, but he's definitely aware of you. And also Aaron Greenberg says hello as well. So,
awesome.
but and that's Phil's vision. That's how we're going to get to 2-3 billion players, is that we know that not everybody can have access to a console, but most of the planet has a device here as a personal, as a personal phone that you can snap a Backbone on. I've got another video here. I was wondering if you could tell us about this one here and walk us through what we're seeing here.
Yeah, so this is the new Backbone home screen. We've really revamped the Backbone app as of last week. And one of the biggest things we've done is we've kind of unified all the gaming services in one place.
Right.
So for example, if you wanted to play, Xbox Cloud Gaming games or Stadia games or Luna games or GeForce Now games, they all kind of appear in one centralized place, which makes it really easy to find the latest games you want to play. Because if you want to figure out what games you can play on your phone, you have to maybe go to a different site to figure out what are the latest games on Apple Arcade or like what are the latest games on xCloud and so on and so forth. And we actually did a partnership with Twitch to actually use IGDB, which is the sort of backend that they use for Twitch to have all this like games metadata.
Yep.
And that enables us to have like awareness of games across all these different services. So you see that in the Backbone app, like the latest Xbox Cloud Gaming games will appear there as with all the other services as well.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of this, as you said, you're talking about Roku and having it be this one place for streaming. You guys have kind of built this one-stop shop for gaming. I know I need to let you go because we got a lot going on, but I wanted, where do folks buy these? That's what they're going to want to know. Where do I get this and how do I find it and what do I do?
Yeah, totally. So you can buy Backbone One on our website or also on Amazon. It's the number one selling product on Amazon in the category. You can also get it as of last week in GameStop stores throughout the US and on GameStop.com.
Well, that's congratulations on that, Minnie. It's such a great chance to have a chance to talk to you. I'm so excited for you. Congratulations to your team on bringing this vision, and on behalf of everybody at Xbox, we're cheering for you. We'll do what we can to help you along here. And thanks for joining us.
Appreciate it. Thanks so much for the opportunity.
All right, Larry, that last conversation with Manit, that was like unexpectedly touching. So I love this story.
It is
an inspiration.
I mean, I'll let you read it. I don't want to read it because I don't want to, he sent it directly to me. So I'm not going to read it on the air here, but it was such a touching story. And seriously, I keep this right on my desk here with this backbone, and I'll be taking this backbone with me when I travel. I'll be traveling for the holidays. And this will be great to have on to do some xCloud action. So thank you. Yeah, he was delightful.
Yeah, I got one of those too. And I will say that I was very relieved because this was the year I upgraded my iPhone. I had been on a 10, so I got the 13, and I was like, please don't switch it to USB-C so that my backbone will still work. And
right.
You were good to
go. You also, if I remember correctly, because I have I've got the Pro Max here. You've got the little baby phone, don't you?
It's not a baby phone. It's just the regular iPhone. I got used to the smaller phone, and now the other one, it just seems like you're dragging a refrigerator around with you. But whatever you like. You get the 3 lenses.
That's all that matters. Anyway.
Yeah. I feel bad that I haven't written you a letter. I mean, would I be here without you?
Oh, stop it!
I don't think so.
Stop it!
You brought me in, so now
you were destined for greatness. We were destined for greatness, regardless if I was involved or not.
Sure.
I don't like to take too much credit.
I owe you.
Look,
you're an inspiration.
It is just. I'll never forget that afternoon at Universal Studios in Florida. So it all began there.
And what's really funny is I ended up meeting one of the PR people that was there. I ended up meeting and staying in contact with him, and I helped him get recommended him at least for a job elsewhere in the industry that he got. So,
that's great.
It really is. You never know who you're going to meet and like what that could turn into. So I think it pays to be nice to people.
Do you know? I don't know if I've ever told you the story. I think I told it in the PAX keynote that I did in Australia many years ago. One of the things I did when I was at Syracuse is when I went to college for the first time, and I actually replicated it again when I came to work at Microsoft 20 years ago, was every single day I wanted to meet a new person. And that was for the first year, that was my goal when I was at Syracuse. So by the time I graduated, I knew a ton of people. And granted, some people you basically just start making those connections. And when I came to Syracuse, or when I came to Microsoft, I did the same thing. Hey, I want to what do you do? How do you? Oh, that's great. So you never know what connections will make. I had somebody reach out to me who's worked in the car industry who may go work on the Forza team because he and I met at a car show 5 years ago. So you just never know. That's to your point, Jeff.
Yeah, that's I would say great advice. We do get asked from time to time, like, how do you get here? And the reality is, if you tried to trace it back, it would be, you would look like Charlie from, Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny, like with the strings all over the wall. And,
right.
It'd be almost impossible to chart it back. But I think it all does come down to that and, these chance conversations. So anyway, thanks, Larry. News. I'll write the letter.
I'll expect it. And by the way, he's got lovely penmanship.
He really
a lot
does.
of people don't have
I'm
good
never
penmanship
keep
nowadays.
Up with that. No, I mean, how is that even possible? He doesn't even have lines on the paper. So let's talk about. So we talked about anniversaries. You've been here now. What did you say? 18 years?
No, I've been at Xbox for 18 years, working on 21 at Microsoft.
Right. Okay.
And you've been here 8 years.
I've been here 8 years, and now, completely unrelated, we're celebrating the 20th anniversary of Xbox. So there is an Xbox anniversary celebration taking place this coming Monday, November 15th on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. That'll be 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern time. There's a matching controller, which is very nice. We've looked at that in the previous time, 6 p.m. GMT. And you're a little closer to this stream than I am, Larry.
Yeah.
This is not like an E3 showcase or Gamescom games showcase or fill us in here.
Well, I can't tell you too much. All I can tell you is this isn't going to be like we're not showing off new games. No, that's not what this is about. This is about a celebration that, frankly, Xbox has been on because of you, the community. So you're going to see some really cool stuff there. We've got a lot of stuff to show, and you're going to hear from some great people that you may not have heard of from in a long time, or maybe you've never heard from at all. But it's a celebration of Xbox, 20 years of Xbox, because it has been, that's an extraordinary milestone for anything. And the fact you're going to hear some cool stuff. And I know folks are going to like this stream. But again, this is not about new games and all of a sudden. No, that's not what this is. This is about celebrating Xbox and doing a little something for y'all.
Well, we look forward to seeing you on Monday.
Yeah, I know it's going to be fun.
Larry?
Yes.
A bit of an announcement that came out yesterday. So we're all big fans of Xbox Design Lab because,
yes.
I'm a big fan of Nike ID. I love to be able to customize my own stuff. People, they like to customize their things. And we have heard,
by the way, as he says, as he sits there in his shirt that matches the lighting, the lower half happens to match the colors in the screen behind you. Like, get up a little bit, show me, because the purple kind of matches what's right.
Yeah. Look, we've talked about this before. Like my wardrobe, even before the pandemic, was getting very close to like about 50%,
let's call it branded Xbox casual, shall we?
We can do that. And I haven't gone anywhere. No, in the last, I went to one funeral and that's it.
You went to Mexico
for the last 2 years. I did go, well, sure. But I like haven't had occasion to like buy any new clothes or anything like that. But branded t-shirts I have a nice Obsidian t-shirt that they sent. I've gone past 50%. I am, and you know what? It's comfortable. I love it. It represents who I am. And you know what else does? New options for Xbox Design Lab, which are now available. So this is one that I made. Oh, glove time. See, this is me. I'm filthy amateur, and you're a professional. Let's see what you did.
This one actually was sent to me. You ready?
Yeah. Oh, well, that's nice. So it kind of looks like the Minecraft pig.
Yeah, it does.
Bit, right?
But to your point, it's some of the new features. Of course, you got the engraving on there. But talk about some of the new features that we have now in Design Lab that were announced this week.
Exactly. So all the features that were there are still there, but there is now metallic finish colors, 19 of them, which you can see very clearly on Larry's, on both the D-pad and the triggers.
Look at that.
So yeah, same thing here. Nice and shiny. It's very metallic. And this one is actually, I let my daughter design it. So this one is for hers. You've got a new color, which is Dragonfly Blue, which
is that what yours is?
The one here. Yeah, I believe I did select that one. There's a military green that's been updated to nocturnal green. It's got a richer color. There's been a few things that have just been updated to like match sort of our more iconic Xbox colors. Like
there's another green too, isn't there?
There's multiple. There's more colors, and then also there's a new option on the face buttons, which is black letters on a white background that was not there before.
I think I've got
so
that
we've
here.
got that option now. And then
here
we also had the black rubberized grips, which are like very nice. Like a lot of the sort of like the limited edition controllers that you've been seeing show up have these rubberized grips, and it feels really good. Almost like it's I would say probably inspired by the Elite controller, and it feels good. It looks good. It looks the way you want it to look. And so customized controllers start at $69.99. And there's all kinds of different optional things that you can do. Again, like I said, the grips and the metallic finishes. And
you can get
those
engraved.
Are different price points. And of course you can get it engraved, which we've always had. So
and with the right planning, because I've seen this, Jeff, these make fine gifts for your groomsmen for a wedding.
Ooh. No, actually, because I've been thinking about like, what do we do for Christmas? And I feel like it is a good. I might do that.
I think you may be a little close to that deadline. You may be missing Christmas at this point.
Now we got a month and a half. I don't know. We'll see how long it takes, but I'm sure it'll say correctly on the website. And these are available in the US, Canada, and Western European countries. So check it out over on the accessories part of Xbox.com. And share your designs with us. Would love to see.
Yeah, please do. Because it's amazing with the colors. Like I remember with the last Design Lab update when they relaunched it a few months ago, we had like some of the OG or the 360 ones. Remember, some people were trying to get those colors in there. So there's some cool stuff over there. Look, always love to see designs because some people just have this great sense of design, and some people probably shouldn't be left to their own devices. So, and I'm one of those.
Yes. So, let's just talk a little bit about games. So as we had talked about in the interview, Battlefield 2042 is available now through EA Play. If you got either the deluxe, I think the gold version of the game is called, and the ultimate version of the game, or if you've got Xbox Game Pass Ultimate or Xbox Game Pass for PC, that gets you EA Play, and that gives you early access. I think you get somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 hours of early access. All the information is over on Xbox Wire, but there's also a lot of updates to other games. So we got this week an update from Back 4 Blood. Back 4 Blood we played, available on Xbox Game Pass. Played a ton of it. We played a ton of it this year. And around this time, some people might have already cleared, I'm not there, but cleared the campaign. And so what's coming next? And the good thing is that the good folks at WB and Turtle Rock are thinking about that and have revealed their post-launch content plans. So this month, there's going to be some like quality of life improvements and bug fixes. But then as we get into December, you start to see new content. There'll be a solo offline mode, which allows you to progress the campaign, which was something that was, I'm assuming, requested. New card types, new progressions, the supply lines, as they call them, where you get to unlock new things and abilities for your players. And then they're talking about a annual pass, which will have major expansions. The first one being Tunnels of Terror, which comes out next year. So it's good to see that they're going to keep putting
Tunnels of Terror.
Tunnels of Terror. I mean, it sounds pretty scary. So anyway, available on Xbox Game Pass, so you'll definitely want to check it out. The annual pass is something that is part of the deluxe edition if you had picked that up, or you can get it a la carte to add on to your Game Pass version of the game. Remember a couple years ago, I think it's one of your best interviews you ever did. What would you put up there? What would you say was your favorite interview you've ever did with a celebrity guest?
Well, there's favorite and I mean, certainly when I interviewed Bill, probably when I was with Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum. That was the right answer, because that was an amazingly entertaining one. He was very funny. And that was for Jurassic World, that Evolution, that was like sort of the park building game. Well, Jurassic World Evolution 2 is available now for Xbox One and Xbox Series X and S. It's got more dinosaurs, more things to do. And leaning into Jeff Goldblum, there's a mode called Chaos Theory, which, if you remember that famous scene from, when
the movie
in the first one, where he dropped the water on his hand and talks. That's all I know about Chaos Theory. It's all anyone knows about Chaos Theory, I'm sure, unless there's a chaos theorist out there. Well, anyway, and there are voices that are voiced, or characters that are voiced by the people from the movies. Bryce Dallas Howard reprising a role as Claire, Dr. Ian Malcolm, Jeff Goldblum, and other folks. So you're going to hear people that you like. So if you like Jurassic Park and you like building a park simulator, the idea of bringing these together is.
And if you like dinosaurs.
Of course. I mean, who doesn't like dinosaurs?
We actually work with somebody who hangs up on me on the phone if we're on a call and I start talking dinosaurs.
What? Is there a story here?
No, he just hates dinosaurs.
You talk about dinosaurs a lot?
I don't know. He just
hates dinosaurs. There's 65 million years between you and them.
I don't know. I'll tell you who it is off the air. It's just as bizarre. Okay. I don't want to out his Jurassic phobia.
Yeah, because it's not like, I was on spring break and dinosaurs ate my lunch, or
when I was a young kid, I got bit by a dinosaur,
and it changed the arc of my life. I mean, maybe he was hiking and tripped over a fossil and hurt themselves.
He won't even talk about. He won't even tell me what it is. He just hates them.
I have to hear the story offline, apparently, because at worst, you could be apathetic. But anyway.
No, he's violent. He's violent about it.
So I was talking to a good friend of ours from the Xbox On team this morning, Sam Bateman. You probably
how is Sam?
On
over in the UK.
Seems to be doing well. I mean, Arsenal is in the top 5, so he's probably doing as good as I am right now, that's good. That's a good thing, because it's been a while. And he was telling me that he was playing. As we were in a meeting, he told me he was playing Football Manager 2022.
Surprise!
And so both Football Manager 2022 and the Xbox edition are both available with Xbox Game Pass. Great game for, you think you're better than the coach? Well, let's see it. And so that's a very popular game every year on PC and on console. And if you've got Game Pass, you've got access to Football Manager 2022. And the last thing I want to call out, this is a game that came into Game Pass that caught my eye because I'd heard some really good things about it, called The Forgotten City. And what's really interesting, The Forgotten City is a game in a way kind of like Deathloop, and we've seen a couple of these different games. Another one would be Outer Wilds, where you replay the game to try to get,
Outer Wilds. I got to go back to that. I finished it, but there's some DLC that I hear is really good.
So you're trying to figure it out so you can do it right and escape. And so this was actually based off of a mod, I believe, from Skyrim. And so when you look at it, you can see, oh, okay, this is, the way people talk to you and everything. But it's very polished and looks cool. And it takes place, I think a current day person goes back into time in ancient Rome, but there's something that's making everybody turn into bronze or gold or something like that. And you're trying to stop that.
Right.
But there's sort of that, Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's court, or, sort of like, that caught your eye, just that sort of like the person from the modern day goes into the past, and there's just some sort of like fish out of water, funny moments there. I was watching the trailer and they were talking about something, and it was like, it was very topical, yet also just made a lot of sense. It was very funny based off of where, they were in that particular era of Rome. So they're comparing it to Groundhog Day. And anyway, it just seems really interesting. I've heard it's like critics, I think it was out on Steam at one point, or probably still is. And it's really great things about it. And it's on Xbox Game Pass. So The Forgotten City, I have it downloaded. I need to check it out when I get the chance, but I will report back. It seems really cool. I'm
looking it up right now so I can download it.
Well, there you go.
Anyway, there it is. Outer Wilds, we brought that up, and I love that. It took me a while to get my head around the ship and how it balances. Oh, God, it's so good.
Did you play the expansion? Because the expansion apparently is just as big.
That's what I just said. I got to play it.
Original game.
Yeah.
So it might be worth taking a look at that as well.
Because at the end of the day, Jeff, I really don't have enough games to play. Thanks.
It's all about prioritization. Lack of choice is not an issue. If you're a Game Pass subscriber, it's an all-you-can-eat buffet, but you can't eat it all. So,
the way I talk, it's funny because I was talking to somebody about Game Pass, and I said, I love how it's changed the conversation about, gee, what should I buy, to what should we play, right? That's it.
I mean, look, we grew up during the era where you had to take a gamble. You had to say, I hope this game is good. And because you would walk into a store, it would just like surprise, it would be there. And there are still games I think about from when I was a kid, and I was like, wow, I made the wrong choice. And then you have to hope someone would like let you borrow a better game and be good, down for a trade.
Right.
I won't call it. I don't think that there's a game in particular that I saved up for a while, and last minute I called an audible because the box looked cool, and I ended up beating the game in about 20 minutes. And I was like, I've made a huge mistake.
Yeah, because some of the magazines back then were sealed in plastic because they came with a CD. So you couldn't even look at the review.
Well, the other thing was because the reviews, it'd take a while for that magazine to come out. So sometimes the game would be there and there would be no reviews. There'd be no way to know other than like if a friend. But if you had walked in and like that game had come out that week, it was just a complete crapshoot.
Right.
The fact that you get to try things out and go, oh, I love this, or it's not for me. Nothing ventured, nothing gained is, what I'm saying is I'm jealous of the kids, Larry. I'm jealous of the kids. They don't know how good they got it.
Well, you know what? I am too, Jeff, but it is what it is. Here we are working in the games industry, having some fun.
Yes, that we do.
All right, we're going to wrap it up.
News, Larry.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for the news. We'll be back. We're going to wrap it up here. We'll be back next week. Unfortunately, Rebecca will not be with us. We'll see. We should see if we can get somebody else to join in on us. We got a couple of folks around the office.
Yeah, no, we should definitely do that.
But we're going to be back, and then we'll be out for the holiday because we got Thanksgiving coming up in the U.S. at least. We'll be dark for
Canadian Thanksgiving has already passed.
Yeah,
so
it is.
I hope you had a good one.
I'm sure they did. So, all right, gang. Jeff, any final words before we let you go?
I've talked entirely too much, but my controller's disconnected, so I'll fix that, and then I'm going to go back because this in its own way was my own Squid Game, and now I gotta recoup, and I'm just going to jump back into Forza for a while.
All right, gang. Look for us live on Forza Horizon 5, or our apologies in advance for both Jeff and I's Drivatar, because they are a wee bit ruthless and they're not the best drivers.
Speak for yourself, Larry.
All right, we'll see you guys next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.